We welcome you to downtown Oklahoma City and the Thunder playoff postgame show presented by McDonald's. Game 1 of the Western Conference semifinals between the Thunder and the Los Angeles Lakers officially in the books. Your final score, Oklahoma City 108, the Lakers 90. Hey everybody, welcome back inside of Paycom Center. I'm Paris Lawson alongside a very familiar face in Royce Young, and we got a special guest joining us here today. How about the Thunder's very own Michael Cage, one of the voices on our Thunder broadcast throughout the season. Just right off the top, I just want to go down the line here, get everyone's thoughts on how the Thunder came out in this game, given the fact that this is their first game in 8 days. A very long layoff, but they're no stranger to this.
Yeah, it was an interesting game, and it really just the way that the Lakers approached it. I can't wait to hear your thoughts about it, Mike, because boy, they really threw the kitchen sink at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
They did everything they could do to deny him the ball. Marcus Smart played him with extreme physicality up and down the court, and the Thunder really kind of had to solve problems as they went along, and some uncharacteristic turnovers from Shai as he kind of dealt with some of the pressure, maybe what you're talking about, Paris, some of the time off. That's something that they can really sharpen up. But overall, to me, the Thunder just did a great job of executing kind of throughout the game and really kind of enduring what the Lakers were throwing at them. What did you see from OKC tonight, Mike?
Well, you're starting a series, second round,
Yeah.
and it's always a challenge because this is a little bit different than Phoenix. Yeah. You got Dylan Brooks, Pitbull on defense, Marcus Smart, Pitbull on defense, pretty much same kind of guys, but, they play it differently. The Lakers' different strategy. They just said, look, we're just going to, like you said, Royce, we're just going to take the ball out of his hand. We're not going to let him, be a factor. And that's where that depth came in. The Thunder are really smart. I thought they played timely basketball. They let the Lakers kind of have that good start, that good first half, and then they kind of started whittling away at it, almost like a wood chipper, just wearing them down with the balance up from the bench, guys coming off the bench. I thought it was a good first game for the Thunder in terms of how a team is going to play them probably for the rest of the series.
I thought it was a really good example of something that we've heard from Coach Daigneault all season long, and especially in the postgame, that Game 1 is really the baseline for this team, and being able to respond to everything that the Lakers threw at them in this game, a really good sign that they're adaptable and they're willing to learn throughout this series. Now, one player who really showed out big time, Chet Holmgren. I'm going to let you start with this one, Mike. The big man wants to talk about the big man, 24 and 12. What'd you see from him?
Well, he was Stretch Armstrong tonight.
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
I had to throw that out there because he gave me that Stretch Armstrong, little figure at the end of the season. So I'm gonna. That's a great. Thanks for letting me start with Chet. I thought his cool and calmness for how he scored his buckets tonight was really important. Yeah. He kind of set the tone because we saw the defensive focus by the Lakers being on Shai. That's how the Thunder have been built. Somebody always steps up. I thought he hit the threes. He posted up. He got really timely blocks. I mean, just doing the thing that Chet does that we've seen all season long that's now transpired into the second round of the playoffs.
You know what was interesting, Mike, is kind of the way that Chet played out throughout this game is so much of it was interior focus. He was dominant, really dunking the basketball, getting inside. He was great on the offensive glass as well. But, when teams really kind of throw that type of coverage at Shai, it really requires other players to make out of it, because a lot of times now that the Thunder can suddenly kind of play 3-on-2 or 4-on-3 in those situations. And so a guy like Chet is often the beneficiary of that. And he set a great tone. I think it's a great call of really kind of, because it's going to be different players throughout the game. Jared McCain had his moment. AJ Mitchell had a couple of great moments as the Lakers really kind of focused on Shai. But Chet, I thought, really kind of softened that defensive coverage a little bit early on, because it was like he's getting the easy stuff at the rim, which is a lot different than open threes.
Royce, I want to get your opinion, because we've chronicled Chet's entire career in the NBA. The growth that we have seen from him over his relatively short NBA career, for him to look as comfortable as he does in moments like this in the Western Conference semifinals against a team like the Lakers with all the size that they do have. I mean, what can you just put into context the growth that we've seen from him?
Yeah, and I'll rewind back to that Phoenix series as well, where there was a lot of cross-matching going on, and Chet had smaller players on. To me, that's a big area of improvement. And, as a big man, I'm sure Mike can tell us more about it, but getting comfortable with those players that are smaller than you and shooting over the top of them.
Yeah.
I think that's something that Chet has really improved on versus the player that he was last year. That's something he told me in the film room, is that that's a great thing about the postseason is that you get tested so much throughout a series. It really tells you these are the things I need to get better at because these are the things other teams think I'm not good at. So this is the way that they're game planning me. And I think an area that Chet really focused on was getting more comfortable taking advantage of that size mismatch.
Well, his growth is really – I'm not surprised by what we saw tonight. Yeah. I think his consistency that he's shown all season long, first series against the Suns, and then tonight really establishing himself once again. I mean, he's not afraid of the big moment. He understands how to play off a dynamic player like Shai, which I think is really important. We can talk about A.J. Mitchell that as well, and McCain. His first year up at bat. I'm really impressed because I think that he's got the confidence now that he's not afraid of any kind of situation out there. Whether they're behind, up, they need a bucket, they need a block. I think his IQ for the game, hey, you've done a lot of stories with that guy. That's been my cheat sheet all season long, and I love those things, when you're talking with these guys, especially with Chet, because he has such a cerebral approach, to the game, being so massive out there on the floor.
I mean, as a rebounding champion yourself, I just want to get your opinion on his effort on the glass tonight because the Thunder, I'm looking at this right now, they outscored the Lakers 21-11 in second chance points. The offensive glass was huge in this one, and Chet, with 12 boards of his own, what'd you see from him on the glass?
Well, I just thought he was in the right place. Just really not getting out of the area where he couldn't get the rebounds. Yeah. I think that when you're talking about rebounding the basketball, you got to be in position to get it. When that shot goes up, Lakers were taking threes. They were not making them early. When those balls came off, he was right there. I thought that big tip in toward the end of the game.
Great call.
It was just one of those things that just kind of closed the door to your advantage of what he was talking about, his rebounding, the 12. And they were 12 big rebounds. It wasn't like sometimes Michael Cage when he got 30 rebounds. Maybe 10 of them were like, the guy just nudged me, Lawson. No. They were 12 big rebounds for Chet tonight.
Great stuff from Chet and great insight from our very own rebounding champion, Michael Cage. Thanks so much for joining us as always, Mike. We appreciate you. And for now, we're going to send you over to the press room because Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault is at the podium. Let's listen in.
Mark, what did you guys find on both sides of the ball as this game moved along, just from in the second half especially?
I thought we settled in defensively. We had some, kind of game plan type breakdowns early. I thought we tightened that up and got a feel for how they were trying to attack us in the second half, which was helpful. And then offensively, I didn't think it was our best night. I thought our shot making kind of bailed us out. We shot a high percentage, but it wasn't our cleanest floor game. They junked the game up. Credit them. Like, they threw some curveballs, and it just seemed to throw us off kilter. Nothing we haven't seen, but they were moving it pretty quickly in terms of scheme to scheme. So we just have to calibrate that quicker, attack it cleaner. But series doesn't end at game one. You got to get better game over game, and that's our challenge. That's their challenge.
Mark, you mentioned the curveballs they threw. It's not like Shai hasn't seen coverages like that, but maybe he hasn't seen the coverage quite like that in this postseason. Would you make it a way he processed that in real time throughout the game?
I thought collectively, like I just said, we could have been better. It obviously wasn't clean. I thought it was a little clunky. That could have been how quickly they changed the scheme. It could have. I thought we were like a little fast to begin the game anyways. That might have just been the layoff. We just haven't played a game in 8 days. So that's some of it. But I told the team, and I feel this way, like you can't be greedy with a playoff win, and that was not a perfect game. There's a lot of playoff games that are not perfect. The other team's trying their best to squeeze you and make you very uncomfortable. And so we won an imperfect game tonight, and that's a good thing.
And it felt like among the things that were consistent, like Chet was just always available. It felt like as a play finisher. I know since he got here, you guys have been calling him a lob threat, but it feels like this year especially he's really become that. What's sort of going into making him that?
Some of it is him learning, spacing opportunities to find those plays. Some of it is us learning him and positions to put him in. And some of it is his teammates finding him. And the combination of those things evolving has allowed us to find him around the rim. And those are valuable plays, especially on a night, like I said, that offensively it didn't feel like we really strung together clean possessions a lot of the night. When you just get him down there and you get a layup or he gets an offensive rebound to extend a possession, those are huge plays for you. And I thought that was a huge part of the game.
Yeah, Mark, follow up to Joel's first question, but with the guys making the decisions out of those shade traps? Seemed like it was quicker, more decisive in the second half. What'd you see from that aspect?
Yeah, it was not clean in the first half. They went to it later, and it threw us off a little bit. And so, we talked about it at halftime. The guys did a good job of adjusting to the way that the game was being played, and we got better attacks. And so it's nothing we haven't seen, but we had to pivot to it quickly. And I think the combination of a little bit of our rust and a little, them doing a good job of keeping us off balance led to that. And that becomes one of the items that we have to address and improve as we go through the next couple days, 48 hours.
Mark, Reeves obviously is going to be a focal point for you guys defensively. Why do you think you were as successful disrupting him tonight? They're probably going to come up here and say the same thing I'm saying. I don't think they felt like they played the cleanest game either. Both teams have margin for improvement, and I anticipate that they'll improve with the series because they're a good team and they're well coached and they've got veteran guys. So. But I think we did a good job of just executing the plan on him. With him, you just can't give him a lot of cracks. And if you give him easy stuff, he's able to really burn you. And I thought we did a nice job tonight of keeping him at bay, not fouling him too much, and being in good position on him and just making him earn everything. And that's our drumbeat on every really good player is we just want them to have to earn everything they get. Sometimes they do, and you tip a hat.
Going back to Chet, Shai had a quote a couple games ago where he had said, the worst version of Chet is one we're going to see today because he's constantly getting better. Just can you kind of speak to what else you're seeing out of Chet's game that he's continued to improve on, and how much does that speak to his work ethic?
Well, he's an ambitious guy. He's kind of a bottomless pit when it comes to his work ethic. In the gym, in the film room, there's no amount of basketball he can't handle, and so that's why he improves. He really cares about it and wants to improve. And where has he improved? Everywhere. Stuff Joel was talking about. Certainly his versatility defensively, our ability to move him around there has unlocked a ton of different lineups we can use and has allowed us to use his impact in a lot of different ways. I think one of the most underrated things about him as a defender is his versatility. He's a great rim protector, but that's just a fraction of what he does for us. So played a great game. We're obviously going to need him in this series.
A.J. Mitchell's taken on a bigger role. Just what did you see from him today?
Yeah, continued growth. This is a big stage, and he doesn't blink. He does a great job of just continuing to stay in character. It's probably the most impressive thing. He doesn't really press, or break who he is. He plays his game, stays aggressive, but he stays inside the team. And he did a really good job defensively tonight. He had Reeves to start the game, and he had Reeves at different points in the game. That's a really tough cover, and I thought he executed what was asked of him very well. So it was a good start for him.
Yeah, Coach, kind of similar question, but those non-Shai minutes didn't really feel like a drop-off at all. Actually, you guys were a +7 during those non-Shai minutes, and that kind of goes back to last series as well. What does that say about this group that, your bench is legitimately a strength instead of, there being any kind of worry with Shai off the court?
Yeah, we want to be a 48-minute team. We try to be a 48-minute team every night. I thought that group to start the second gave us some breathing room. They went in the game, increased the pace of the game with the way we played on offense using Wiggins and McCain. AJ helped us do that. And then to start the fourth, that group really opened the game up, and gave us a cushion with the way that they started. And the Lakers I think they had their starting lineup out there or close, so those were quality minutes out of that group. We're going to need everybody. We're going to need every minute.
Yeah, Mark, in conjunction with that, McCain gave you a lift with back-to-back threes and I think another one later. Was the game plan to use him in certain situations, or was it a flow of the game decision to go with him?
My goal going into the game was to get all 11 guys out there on the first half and just get everybody's feet wet in the series. We're going to need everybody, and I say that, and we got to, I try to back it up. We tell those guys to stay ready, and we mean it. And so he went in Game 3 of Phoenix and was super aggressive. It was impressive, just to come in cold like that and to have his foot on the gas. Wiggins was the same way in Game 4. those guys did a great job, in those minutes, and so they've earned the opportunity to touch the floor. And we thought, potentially with the way we were going to get guarded, we didn't know exactly what they'd do, but we thought having those guys out there from a gravity standpoint might be able to help us.
McCain seems like he's always aggressive. Is that close to true?
It seems it to me. I haven't known him that long, but he just keeps chucking the ball up there. So.
Staying with McCain, I was actually going to ask about that. Game 3, you mentioned that AJ's not shy, and McCain, you just talked about the shots that he got off. What does it say about him that he's sort of ready and prepared? You always talk about being ready, but ready for a moment that he hasn't been in before of a playoff environment.
He's a confident guy. He's a hard worker. Does a lot of invisible work. And I also think it speaks to our team. I think that's a kind of an underrated thing with a situation like that, where it's a new player who's super aggressive, and the team puts the wind at his back. They encourage him to be aggressive. They encourage him to be who he is, and it allows him to feel comfortable and confident inside of our environment. And so it's a huge credit to Jared, but I also think it's a credit to the team that guys like him and AJ that are young players trying to establish themselves, they're not looking over their shoulder with their teammates, and that you have no idea how far that goes.
You talked about the group being together a little bit. They've seen some things. Tonight's games could be frustrating every time you're about to break it open, turn over something like that, but they kind of stayed with it until they finally got a little breathing room.
Yeah, we stuck with the game tonight. Like I said, it was an imperfect win. But, the playoffs, 7-game series is a long time. It's 2 weeks, and it's a lot of basketball. It's a lot of minutes. It's a lot of possessions. And so you're not going to stay in like a perpetual state of perfect basketball. You have a really good opponent that's trying to make you really uncomfortable and pick all your scabs, and you got to be able to play imperfect basketball. You got to be able to play through the ups and downs of the game, and this team's done a great job of staying present. I thought we did that again tonight. We have some room to grow. We have some things we can address, but I'm never going to take an effort like that for granted.
Yeah, great effort by Oklahoma City in this matchup here tonight. Coming out in Game 1 of the Western Conference semifinals, after 8 days without playing a game, it requires a lot of energy. And you heard Coach Daigneault, his intention was to get 11 guys out here on the court in the first half. And because recognizing you're going to need everybody, and the Thunder got contributions from everybody as well.
And it showed up as the game went along.
For
too.
sure.
Jared McCain, those 3 fourth-quarter threes,
Huge.
and really kind of cracking open the game a little bit, and really cracking open the defensive coverage that the Lakers were kind of playing with some desperation there. But I thought it was a really interesting point that Mark made early on as well. This is kind of a unique scenario, Paris, where the Lakers had 3 days to kind of prepare. There was a lot of preparation time, kind of unusually so going into a playoff series. And I think that really showed up early in this game.
I think so, too.
The way both teams, especially the Lakers, really kind of tried to throw different number of curveballs at the Thunder because they were switching their schemes very quickly. They didn't play as much zone as I really kind of anticipated they would, but top-locking Shai, picking him up, all the different types of ways that they tried to kind of grind the game down, I thought was very interesting. And so it'll be interesting to watch over the next 48 hours how maybe that changes a little bit and evolves as the series goes along.
Well, speaking of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, how about this? He just sat down at the podium, so let's get you back over to the press room so we can listen in.
Shai, you guys held them to 37 in the second half. What did you learn defensively over the course of the game?
Yeah, honestly, we were just like more ourselves in the second half. Took us a little bit to get into it tonight, to get back to what we were. Obviously, a little bit of a break, a little bit of rest is expected, but we eventually got to it and were able to do enough to win.
Shai, Mark was just sitting here talking about the curveballs they threw. It's not like you haven't seen some of the coverages they were throwing at you, but it is the first time you've seen maybe something like that this postseason. What'd you make of your own processing throughout the game?
Yeah, I was loose with the ball, had a lot of turnovers, but I think that goes into like the rust of not playing for a little bit. They were obviously very aggressive, but I feel like for most of the night we got great looks. Sometimes it didn't go down, but we got great looks. It felt like, and we generated good offense for guys that can make plays, and just continuing that process because that's ultimately what's going to come down to, like just betting on us getting the best look for our team and living with the results. Like it's not always going to go our way, but we give ourselves the best chance if we do so.
It felt like some of the best looks were Chet at the end of a clock or just finishing plays. And I know since year one when he got here, you guys were calling him a lob threat, but it doesn't feel like you guys have really used him to that extent this much until this year? What's sort of going into that?
I think like just as the time goes on, playing with somebody, you understand their tendencies. You get better. Like for me personally, I've just become better as a playmaker, finding him in those spots. And then it's just like one of my coaches always said, like the tallest guy on the floor is always open. Like you can always throw it up in the air and he'll go get it. And I try to use that as much as I can.
You mentioned a few games ago that the worst version of Chet that we're going to see is today's version because he only gets better. Just when did you kind of realize, once he walked in the doors, that he had a different level of work ethic?
The first day, like when he walked in the doors, he just you could just tell like how much he cares about the game and his game. Like he really wants to maximize his potential, and that's all it comes down to, really and truly. Like a guy that wants to be the best version of himself gives himself the best chance to get there, and usually it works out for guys like that. He just wants it really badly.
Shai, we know as a team you all have one common goal, but I wanted to ask you about Jared McCain and his time that he's been here. What have you seen from him? It seems like he's really kind of stepped into and embraced his role.
Yeah, he's been great. When his number's called, he's been ready. It feels like every time, which is really hard to do. Coming to a new situation, having to move and all that stuff, all the outside distractions. But he's had 2 feet in the circle, we call it. But yeah, he's a great teammate. Obviously, a really good player, and he's out there for a reason. He helps us win, and he's helped us win multiple games and big time games this season, and he did so again tonight.
Shai, as far as you being double teamed most of the night and what have you, kind of like a shooter gets a rhythm, the more he sees shots go in, the more that you had a chance to kind of pass out of the double team. Did you get like a rhythm of kind of you knew where you wanted to go with the ball, or you could see more options as you went along with as much as they doubled?
Yeah, yeah, as the game goes on, like you understand more so like how they're rotating around it, and like what we like spacing we can have behind it to give ourselves the best opportunity to have an advantage. And like I said, it took us a little bit to get to like that type of stuff clicking tonight, but we eventually got there and we're pretty good in the second half. But yeah, those type of things, like ultimately it's the easiest form of basketball. Like I'd much rather do that than have to go one-on-one all night over somebody. Like my teammates on the back end playing 4-on-3 is it's what you play for. Every play starts for us to create an advantage, and just to be given an advantage, we'll play that as much as we can. I think we did a good job of attacking that confidently tonight.
Shai, how would you compare the version of Chet you have right now, especially on the offensive end, to at this time last year in the playoffs?
Yeah, completely different player. Last year he was coming off a big injury, obviously, so his legs weren't as underneath him. But yeah, he just like really used those experiences last postseason and this summer to really get better. And then he just looks like super fresh out there. Like everything looks strong. He's getting to his spots. He's rebounding. He's finishing plays, altering stuff at the rim. Like he's exactly who we need him to be and who we expect him to be, and he's been great so far this postseason.
And how would you grade your individual performance tonight?
It was okay. It wasn't my best. It wasn't my worst. Somewhere in the middle.
With guys like AJ and McCain, they've both been really confident, and Mark was talking about that's really important coming in their first playoffs, but he also mentioned that it's the environment they're in of having guys like you where McCain and AJ don't have to look behind their back to know that there's somebody behind them wondering whether they're taking some of these shots. You've talked about empowering your teammates. Is that something you sort of learned from your time with the Clippers and Chris Paul and guys like that, of sort of how to empower younger players?
I think like as I've gone through kind of being like the head of the snake of this team, you just like come to realize like no matter how good you think you are, like you're gonna need your teammates more than anything. And I remember being a young player, and it was just always easier knowing that I had guys behind me that believed in me. And that's what it's all about. Like when the best players believe in you, when people that have accomplished things believe in you, it's a little bit more of a confidence boost, and then it takes that stress away. So yeah, it's just like I try to reverse it. Like if I was in their shoes, what would I need from me? That's how I kind of think about it.
AJ's just in his second season. You made the postseason in your second season. Can you just speak to maybe the impressiveness for him to look so controlled and poised in these moments? He's obviously stepped into a handling role and just looks really good doing it.
Yeah, he's I always say this. He's as tough as they come. Like, there's no shaking AJ. Like, for him to be as like reliable as he is for our group, especially a group that just won, like it's very impressive. He's been like a bit of a surprise. Like, obviously, like we saw last year, he was a good player, but like coming in and being this this confident and this skilled this early in his career, and for us as a group has just been big, especially with like Dub being hurt all year and him like being the secondary handler. It's been big for us, and it's honestly kept us afloat. And yeah, he's just a really good basketball player. But yeah, when you're as tough as he is, like, you figure it out no matter the situation. And I'd bet on AJ figure it out 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, Shai, Marcus Smart been sort of missing in action for a couple of years. Seemed to landed on his feet with the Lakers. How big of a hassle was he to deal with tonight? Looks like you're going to be messing with him for the entire series.
Yeah, obviously a really great defender. It wasn't many times it was just me and him, though. It was multiple bodies pretty much every play. But he is like a premier perimeter defender. Does a really good job of getting into the ball. Yeah, he is who everyone thinks he is, a really good defender.
You know, there were a lot of good bars from that one little press conference with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and I think my favorite one is the tallest guy on the floor is always open. And I feel like hoopers at home need to just write that down if you want to go out and play basketball.
Yeah, 100%. It doesn't really compute very well for somebody like me that has never been the tallest guy on the floor.
Same.
I'm also open sometimes, people. But
got to work for it a little bit more.
No, 100%. I mean, Jared McCain knows what that feels like,
Yeah,
and he
that's
finds
true.
himself open a lot. And that's the other thing about it is that tallest guy might always be open, but when you got a great playmaker like Shai, he can
point.
find all those other guys open as well, and that's what he did all game long.
Yeah, great playmaking by SGA throughout the course of this matchup here tonight. A huge reason why the Thunder was able to walk away with this win against the LA Lakers here tonight in Game 1 of the Western Conference semifinals. All right, we're going to take a short break here, but don't go anywhere. We've got more of Thunder Playoff Postgame Show coming up right after this.
Now, at McDonald's, a McDouble is $2.50. So Miles, Jaden, and Carl have a plan. It's called McDouble Macro Mondays. Get more value when you order from the under $3 menu.
back inside of Paycom Center. The site for tonight's matchup is the Thunder squared off in Game 1 of these Western Conference semifinals against the LA Lakers, walking away with the 108-90 victory here tonight. As we welcome you back inside, and you'll notice we have a new face joining us here. It is Jaylin Williams joining us. And Jay-Will, it's been 8 days since you guys last played. It felt like almost an eternity. But you guys came out, and you have a very focused effort here tonight. Just what was the mentality for this team coming in, knowing you were coming off of that long layoff?
Yeah, just playing hard. Getting back to our principles. Of course, when you're off for that long, you kind of get a little bit of rustiness to your game. But we just played through the rustiness, got back on a roll, and got back to comfortable with what we're doing.
Something Shai said post-game, and I mean, it was obvious the Lakers' strategy there of really trapping him, trying to get the ball out of his hands. But he said, every possession you play, you're trying to create an advantage in it. And so there's kind of something to that, them kind of presenting that advantage to you guys. What kind of role do you take on as somebody that's such a connector of the floor when Shai's playing out of that advantage and you find yourself with the ball?
Yeah, just being a facilitator in the middle. I get that look a lot just because I play in a lot of pick and rolls, and that's a blitz. I got to be better in that situation next time around, but also just making the shots when it comes around. They're, like you said, they're giving us an advantage when they give him the double team the ball, so I just got to be better in the situations off the ball as well.
We heard from Coach Daigneault after the game. He said, look, we're going to need everybody in this playoff run, and I think you're a great example of that. Hart picks up 2 early fouls. You check in early in that first quarter. Can you explain the readiness that every player on this team has, like we saw from you here tonight?
Yeah, I think like you said, everybody's just ready. Unfortunately, this season we dealt with a lot of injuries, but luckily it helped us plan and be ready for these type of situations where different guys had to be ready for the moment, and everybody stepped up tonight. Everybody did what they had to do.
What you see from the Lakers offensively, I mean, they obviously have a lot of talent, a lot of weapons. Austin Reeves struggled to kind of get it going. LeBron had his moments, but what did you guys kind of see from them, and where do you think you can improve getting ready for Game 2?
Yeah, they just played their brand of basketball tonight. Physical, they're bigger. They try to slow down the game, do things like that, and as long as we go at it with all five guys on defense, all 5 guys on offense, I feel like that's going to put us in the best situations.
Jay-Will, you guys outscored them 21-11 in second chance points. I know the glass is obviously always an emphasis for you guys, but particularly in this matchup against a Lakers team with so much size, was that a big importance for you guys in this one?
I wouldn't say it was important just for this. It's kind of been something that we've done throughout the whole season. Getting offensive rebounds isn't about how tall you are or your athletic ability. It's just about guys going and guys trying to get or hustling for those moments. And we have a lot of guys out there that's willing to do those small things. And when we do the things that we're supposed to do, it's going to happen for us.
Jay-Will, I want to ask you, you mentioned just kind of the adversity the team dealt with all season long, and it gave a lot of guys different opportunities to get in rhythm and improve themselves, but also just the ability to step into big moments. Jared McCain tonight, 3 fourth-quarter threes, and was kind of a beneficiary of some of the double teams. What have you seen from him as he's kind of integrated? I mean, his spirit is so great, but for him to have a great moment in a playoff game was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was super awesome. I mean, y'all see it just as much as we see it. Jared's a super confident guy. And I think everybody on the team, our organization, we believe that when he shoots the ball, it's going to go in. And when you're a player and you have that much confidence in your game and the people around you have that much confidence in you, it's hard not to go out there and succeed. And I'm super happy for him. He made big shots tonight.
Another big guy who made some big shots, Chet Holmgren, a guy that you've obviously been with now for several years. What have you seen from him in terms of just his growth and to lead to the comfort level we've seen from him out here tonight?
Yeah, just his aggressiveness. Chet, throughout the years, he's gotten better and better. And he's an all-NBA guy, all-defensive guy, all-star. He's everything that you can say about him. He's just a great player, and he's elite on defense and he's elite on offense. If you take away one, then he's still an elite player. And it's when he does his when he has his aggressiveness on both sides of the floor, it's unstoppable.
Last thing for you, Jay-Will, it was kind of interesting, obviously you talked about the layoff, but now there's no layoff. It's just one day in between, and you've got this kind of unusual rhythm to the series. So how will you guys go about, I know a focus is always about improving throughout the series. How are you guys going to go about that?
Yeah, just one of the days in between. Recovery, of course, but we also want to get better. We want to take things from this game and work on them, get better, and I'm excited. I'm excited to compete. Everybody on our team is happy that we have less time. We all want to play.
Well, we can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for stopping by. Great insight, as always, and congrats on the win here tonight.
Thank you.
All right, we were just talking about him, so let's go hear from him. Chet Holmgren is now at the podium. Let's listen in.
Chet, defensively, what did you feel in that second half just allowed you guys to break the game open and hold them under 40?
Just making everything tough. They got good players over there. They're well coached, so they're going to run good stuff. They're going to execute well. It comes down to how well we execute and get our stuff in the game. We did a good job of that.
Chet, you think you're better just finding open spots, presenting yourself for open looks where they can
I know.
find
That's
you?
why nobody told me
this
last
year
question, but I was like, it
than
felt
previous
like
years?
we were.
Yeah, I feel like it's a balance. One, me learning where the open spots are, and then two, the team kind of learning to expect me to be there. It's a process. At first, you get to those spots and they're not expecting you to be there, so they're not looking for it. But over time, we continue to communicate, talk, watch film, and they've been able to find me in good spots.
Chad, this has obviously been a much different season for you than last year was. How would you compare kind of your offensive game and the rhythm that you feel right now to last year during the playoffs?
Yeah, I feel like I had some really good moments and stretches last year, but I feel like this year I just feel more consistent and kind of knowing what to expect, knowing what the games are going to look like, and like I was saying here, knowing where to be, when to be there, and then I just feel kind of a lot better physically than I did last year. So I feel confident in my body. I feel confident in every step that I'm taking. So just got to continue to keep getting better as these games progress.
Yeah, Chet, when you go into a series, first game one, do you have sort of a theory or a game plan of what it might look like or what might happen, what the Lakers might do? Or is it a blank slate? And if you do have an idea, how much was it different once you got into it on what was going on?
Yeah, we had a long time in between our last game, so you want to try and do your best to prepare for who you're going to be playing next. And once we knew that was the Lakers, we tried our best to not be surprised by anything. But at the same time, you can't get lost in that and forget about focusing on yourself and improving, and that's what we did in those practices this week. And then, no matter what you expect to happen in the game, you can only carry over, what the game is showing you. They showed us some different looks out there on both ends of the floor. I feel like we adjusted well when they changed things up. But I feel like we've seen, a good majority of what you can do out there on the basketball court, so I don't think we're surprised by anything.
Chet, Mark mentioned how A.J. Mitchell is an aggressive player, but he even has a better sense of when to be aggressive. I know he's still early in his career, but can you describe what you've seen out of the growth from him this season?
Yeah, it's hard to call it growth because I think he showed up to our practice facility this good. Obviously he's continued to improve, work on his game, but he's really getting an opportunity to show his ability. He's taking full advantage of it. It's not surprising. He's a killer, and he was big for us tonight, big for us in the last series, and he's going to continue to be big for us.
Chet, pretty grinding game there, and you seem like you were locked in, but I took a moment there to kind of look at you and your reaction when Alex Caruso gets that dunk, and you just seem to really enjoy that. And in a game like this, it is such a grinder, and it's the second round of a playoff. Just how hard is it to step outside for just a second and still enjoy this game and see a guy like Caruso do what he did?
I feel like that's part of the game and competing is being locked into those moments, and when you play with a group of guys that you genuinely care for, genuinely want to see succeed together, and you get a play like that, which is obviously a big play in the game. I feel like part of being locked in is that should make you feel something, you know what I mean? So, I was definitely juiced after that one.
Mark and Shai, sorry, my bad. Mark and Shai were talking about your motor and just your work ethic and how impressed they are by it. I'd imagine you don't really get like that unless you enjoy the process of working on your game. Just what is it about that you enjoy doing?
Yeah. I'd say part of it is really enjoying basketball, enjoying the lifestyle of playing basketball, not what basketball gives you, kind of like just really feeding into the game. And then part of it is just understanding that you can't control what happens out there, who's on the floor, what's happening all the time, but you can control trying to prepare for every single situation. So, I just try to prepare for what I'm going to see out there and, continue to work on my game in every area that I want to improve. And then, trying to put my imprint on the game in that way while also focusing on what we're trying to do here as a group.
Chet, you know this standard Shai is set as a ball handler, as a no turnover guy. I imagine you're not worried about his 7 turnovers because it is atypical, but when you've seen, I think it's the most turnovers he's had since the finals last year. When you see a stretch of decision making like that, how have you seen him sort of build on that and learn from?
I wouldn't even, I wouldn't call it decision making. I think he made the right decision all night long. I think there were a lot of opportunities where we weren't where we needed to be, and he was expecting us to be there. We had a couple turnovers in the pocket like that, where he threw it right to where we should have been and we weren't there. In the stat book, those are his turnovers, but they shouldn't be. I think he made the right play every single night. They threw 2, showed him aggressive coverages. He bent it at times, went before they could come double. But, those turnovers aren't on him. We got to improve, be better, be where we need to be. Because when you have a guy like that, he can shoot the ball every time. You show 2 to him, he could still go shoot the ball. But, he's making the right plays, so we got to be better for him.
Yeah, so then I'd follow.
When we talk about the fact that this is such a connected team and this team has such great chemistry, we're not just talking about the hugs, the smiles, and the high fives. We're talking about the fact that Chet Holmgren is taking responsibility for some of the turnovers that showed up in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's box score. That takes a lot of humility, and that shows the level of connectedness and the camaraderie between these two guys.
No doubt about it. And I think Chet is onto something there that, there's a difference in like bad turnovers where you're forcing it, you're out of rhythm. And then there's the version of a lot of Shai's tonight where it was right play, just not right result all the time. I mean, he had that one where he was trying to split a double team, a trap to find J-Will kind of slipping out of it. And he threw it just like a foot too far in front of him. So right play, just wrong result. But those are the types of plays that are uncharacteristic for Shai, but also you should be pretty optimistic that that's something that he's going to clean up and do better with going into game 2.
This group always so self-reflective, and one thing we know about them, they're always trying to improve from game to game, and they're going to do that. Take this film, digest it, learn from it, and be ready in just 48 hours as they take on the LA Lakers here inside of Paycom Center for game 2 of these Western Conference semifinals. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll have more Thunder Playoff postgame show. We'll hear from Jared McCain when we come back right after this.
Now at McDonald's, get more value on whatever you're getting next when you order from the under $3 menu.
Welcome back to the Thunder Playoff Postgame Show presented by McDonald's. We're here inside a Paycom Center where the Thunder just defeated the Lakers here in Game 1 of the Western Conference semifinals. After this game, a great game by the Thunder, our very own Nick Gallo got a chance to catch up with Jared McCain. Let's listen in.
Rolling. J-Mac, start of a new series, great home environment. What was key tonight mentally as you all came into this game and tried to just be present?
Yeah, being able to execute the stuff that we've been working on throughout this week, being able to knock the rust off a little bit when we have that break, but being able to weather the storm no matter highs and lows.
Yeah, you had that long layoff, but the execution defensively, especially in that second half, seemed to be really on point, held them under 40 points. What was key on that end of the floor?
Yeah, just being focused on knowing what they're going to do, being able to call it what they're going to do, and just executing it. Communication has been key for us.
The bench unit made a massive difference. What are you all talking about? What are you observing over there, waiting for your moment to jump in?
Yeah, we're just seeing how the game's going. Being able to watch it from the bench, we take it as an advantage. And we talk about it, coming in, bringing energy, trying to change the game.
We saw how heavy they were trapping Shai out top. How much did you benefit from that, playing on the backside?
Yeah, for sure. Being able to knock those shots down, we work on those all the time. So when they double them, you got to be ready.
You and AJ had a little rhythm and chemistry there in the second half too. What's it like developing that, still getting better in the playoffs?
For sure. That's my light-skinned brother. So developing that all throughout the season since I got here has been key.
Awesome. Congrats on the win. Thank you, Jared.
Appreciate you, man.
Some excellent energy from Jared McCain throughout this game here tonight, and an excellent interview by Nick Gallo post-game as the Thunder defeat the LA Lakers here in Game 1 of the Western Conference semifinals. I'll tell you what, Jared McCain had some big shots in this game. We talked about it, but my favorite part, I'm sitting right over here, right next to the tunnel, right next to the corner where Jared McCain knocked down 2 of those threes here in the fourth quarter. And from my vantage point, I saw so many people doing his three-point celebration. That's the coolest part about all of it. Feels like the Thunder crowd has memorized every player's three-point celebration.
It's awesome. I mean, the team's got chemistry and the fans got chemistry with the team. But, Jared is such a great, again, like Jay Will was talking about, he's somebody, they all root for each other, but he's somebody that's so easy to root for, and how quickly he's integrated and really just understood kind of the spirit of the team and what Thunder basketball is all about. It's about competing together and improving together. And I love just the energy he brought early on in this game, that pull-up three, the confidence that he had to take that.
In transition.
And not even that, Paris, but it's just the confidence his teammates have. There's no hesitation. In the playoffs, the ball can get kind of heavy, and you can start to kind of second-guess, should I be taking this shot, or should I be getting the ball to number 2? And I think sometimes that can really bog down offenses and make people overthink. But these Thunder players, they're so confident with the way that they play, and Jared was a great example of that and really set a great tone of that with that transition through.
I think the tell of that fact is the reaction from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander after Jared made that first three out in transition. The LA Lakers had to call a timeout because that was a quick little burst by the Thunder to build up a double-digit lead. The first player out on the floor, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, dapping up his teammate in Jared McCain. All right, last thing before we let you go here, we got to get you ready for Game 2. So the Thunder, as we've talked about, they always see this as a growing series. You're not static in Game 1. You're not the same team at Game 1 as you are at the end of the series. So what takeaways do you anticipate the Thunder building into Game 2?
Well, it's like Jay Will told us, too, right there a second ago, is that you got to win the days in between. And even though the Lakers, I think, did kind of show their hand with the preparation that they brought in with the scheme and the challenges that presented, there's going to be some adjustments and some tweaks. JJ Redick and his staff have done a great job, and they're very well prepared, and they executed their game plan as best they could tonight. So, I'm sure that things like Jared McCain stepping into those threes with confidence is something that the Lakers are going to adjust to. And so the Thunder got to continue to improve, find ways that they can kind of keep cracking the doors and finding those advantages, whether the Lakers willingly present them or if the Thunder got to go break down the door and create those advantages themselves.
Yeah, going to be a really good test for the Thunder as they welcome back the LA Lakers into Paycom Center in just a couple of days for Game 2 of the Western Conference semifinals. All right, that wraps us up here inside of Paycom Center. Once again, our final score, 108-90. For Royce Young, I'm Paris Lawson. A reminder, we'll have more post-game coverage for you right here on the Thunder YouTube channel after Game 2 against the Lakers on Thursday. Game time for that will be 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Until then, good night from Paycom Center in downtown OKC.